Hello everyone, very nice to be once again with you all, and happy Passover to anyone who's celebrating it over there. And it brings us to today's Zohar reading for world peace, where we'll be going through a special selection of Passover related excerpts from the Book of Zohar, so you can get ready for that. I'm reminding everyone that the main purpose of why we gather here to read the Zohar is, of course, not for intellectual study. It's not to start going in and deciphering all kinds of things at an intellectual level, but rather to attract what's called the surrounding light, or the reforming light, which is the higher force of love and bestowal that exists in reality, into our reality here. Ultimately, we're all being drawn through this ego that we've all been born into, and which has developed throughout humanity and also in our individual lives constantly. And eventually there's a point where this ego reaches a transition from being what it is, an egoistic desire to enjoy for self-benefit alone, to a point where we can't stand being in such a state anymore, because we really start feeling its narrowness, its transience, the way it cuts us off from all kinds of manners of anything true in this world, in reality. And it brings us to a point where we get sick of being in such a quality, which is a state called the recognition of evil, and wishing to enter a much higher, more exalted quality, the quality of nature itself, or you could say the quality of the Creator himself, the quality of love, bestowal, and connection, the source force of everything that exists in reality, which created us ultimately to come to identify with it. Today, in the daily Kabbalah lesson with Kabbalist Dr. Laitman, we talked a lot about these Passover topics, focused a lot on Moses and what's Moses. As we know, we're about to get into a text, and even though we're not really going to decipher it, it does help to know that everything that we do read in relation to the Passover story, the story of the Exodus from Egypt, it's all talking about inner processes that we undergo, and all kinds of words that we encounter do not talk about anything geographical or any kinds of people or places as we currently know them, but rather all inner processes, inner states, inner structures. Inner meaning that, for example, Egypt representing the ego, Pharaoh representing that controlling force within our ego, which wants us to stay locked within our ego and not exit it. Moses being our point in the heart, that tiny desire for spirituality that starts feeling that there's got to be something better, something greater outside of us, in this reality outside of us. And all these processes that we undergo, and there's many other terms there, Mount Sinai and many others. So today in the daily Kabbalah lesson, I'll just share that there was a lot of talk about Moses as being a depiction of something higher, that we, in our work, in the group, we work to depict this higher state to ourselves, a higher state of love and bestowal, which connects to that point in the heart, which is that leading point, that point that leads us to spirituality. And through, for example, I see lots of people coming here to join in this lesson, Dewey, Albert, Sylvie, Lynn, Francine, Lisbeth, Francine, Michaela, Lila, Annie, lots of familiar names. It's great to see you all coming back week after week. Eva, Ed, Rosie, Larry, Akai, GP, Julie, Patricia, Art, Stephanie, Reza, Sonia, Carl, Madubugwu, Annie, and Carl, and also on Facebook we have people connecting. So I'm sure many of you, Susan as well, great to see you. So, we focus on making this transition from the ego to an altruistic intention, to an intention that's aimed outwardly for the benefit of others, for the benefit of nature, for the benefit of the Creator. That's this whole process here. And without further ado, enough talk from me. Let's listen to a few words of Kabbalist Dr. Michael Laitman talking about this topic a bit in order to prepare us for some reading from some Passover excerpts from the Zohar. And also while we're doing that, or while we're getting that clip ready, anyone who's by a computer or by their phone and wanting to follow along, so I'll just quickly show you where you can download this portion that we're going to be reading. If you go to Kabbalah.info, our website, click on the section called the Zohar, go into the section called Study the Zohar, and under Study the Zohar, you'll be able to download it here. It's called Zohar Passover. Where is it? Give us a second here. There we go. Just did a Control F to search for Passover, and it's this document here, Zohar Passover Excerpts, as you can see it here. Okay, so you can also download that if you wish to follow along. And in general, it's jam-packed with many excerpts that it's way too much for us to read now. So, since we're entering this Passover period anyway, feel free to download it and just go back and read an excerpt or two, during your days. It's definitely no harm done by doing so. Only benefit if we're talking about the spiritual benefit we get from these things. So without further ado, let's go into watching a clip by Kabbalist Dr. Michael Laitman, just to get us familiar with some of these terms that we're going to be encountering in this text.
The people of Israel, was it really a nation of slaves that escaped from slavery in Egypt? Because this is what the story talks about. Slaves and escaping from slavery. Right. And how's that related to us? Escaping slavery means to escape being slaves to our ego. That I do what my ego tells me to do at every given moment. So I run away from the orders that my ego gives me that determine my entire behavior and rise to a different level. That the only thing that I want to keep is the quality of bestowal, and for it to control and guide me in everything that I do from now on. What is this quality of bestowal? That I think about how to do good to everyone. So escaping Egypt is not a historic story, but it's about the evolution of our future. Of course, the Torah doesn't tell us about how things were. What do we care about the past? What does it tell us about the future? What we will have to go through in order to understand where we're headed. It's said that we exit from slavery to freedom. What is a free person, nation, world like? What is freedom? Not to be enslaved to your own ego. That a person thinks and does that which is good for everyone. What will such a person know how to do that we don't? He'll know how to do good to everyone, and that's all you need. Because once you want that, then only good forces come through that person from above, from the Creator, from the degree of Moses. Is his life different than mine? Yeah, that is his life. He sends what he gets from the Creator to everyone. He connects everyone to the Creator. He's what's called a trustworthy servant. He has nothing for himself. Sounds like hard work. Who'd want that? It sounds like slavery. It sounds to you like slavery. But really? There's no greater role than that. Why? Because that person becomes the conduit between the created beings and the Creator. Does it make him free, set him free? Frees him of himself. Because he realizes two desires, the desire of the created beings and the desire of the Creator. It makes him feel good? Of course. Why? Because there's no greater role than that. Because in that, you take from the upper force what he wants to give to the created beings, and from the other side, you take all the deficiencies of the created beings and connect the two.
Okay, so without further ado, let's get into reading from the Zohar Passover excerpts. We're going to start with Shemot, Exodus. Why exile and why to Egypt? 246. Why did the Creator wish to bring Israel down to exile in Egypt? Why the exile, and why specifically in Egypt? 247. 60 is Malchut, the mighty ones above, from the side of Gvura that clings to carvings, meaning to the externality of the holy Hayah of Israel, which is Malchut. This is why they are named after her, 60 queens, Malchuts. Those are angels appointed over the nations. 80 maidservants are the angels appointed by the carvings of Malchut beneath the 60 queens. This is why they are called maidservants and not queens. And there is no number to the maidens. And yet it is written, "My dove, my undefiled, is but one. She is the only one to her mother." This is the holy divinity that comes out of 12 lights, and she is the radiance that shines for all. This is why she is called Mother, Ima, as it is written, "She is the only one to her mother." 248. The Creator acted similarly in the land. He threw all the nations to all sides and established appointees over them, as it is written, "Which the Lord your God has allotted unto all the peoples." And the Creator took the assembly of Israel into his lot, as it is written, "For the portion of the Lord is his people, Jacob the lot of his inheritance." He called it, "My dove, my undefiled, is but one. She is the only one to her mother." This is the divinity of his honor, which he established between them. And she is one and dedicated to him. The daughters saw her and called her happy. As it is written, "Many daughters have done nobly, but you excel them all." Malchut, maidservants, and will praise her, are the ministers of the people over whom they were appointed. 249. The world was created in 10 utterances. But when you look, there are only 3 that the world was created in: Chokhmah, Tvuna, and Dat. And the world was created only for Israel. When the Creator wished to sustain the world, he acted for Abraham in Chokhmah, for Isaac in Tvuna, and for Jacob in Dat. This is considered, and by knowledge are the chambers filled. This means that Chagat, which are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, have risen and become Chabad. At that time, the whole world was integrated. And when 12 tribes were born to Jacob, 12 boundaries of the diagonal, everything improved in this world, similar to Atzilut above. 250. And when the Creator saw the great joy of this world when it improved to being as above, he said, "Let not the 12 tribes mingle with the rest of the nations, leaving a blemish in all the worlds." What did the Creator do? He shook all of them to and fro until they went down to Egypt to dwell in their abodes inside the obstinate nation, which despises their conducts and degrades them by not marrying with them or mingling with them. And by considering them slaves, the males were loathsome of them, and the females were loathsome of them, until everything was bettered by the holy seed, without mingling with strangers. In the meantime, the iniquity of the nations was completed, as it was said, "For the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet full. So when they come out, they will come out holy." As it is written, "The tribes of the Lord as a testimony unto Israel." This settles the 2 questions that he asked. Why were Israel exiled? And why specifically to Egypt? For fear that they would mingle the tribes with the rest of the nations. Who appreciated Israel? He exiled them to Egypt. Who were proud and despised and loathed Israel. And they were there until the iniquity of the Amorites was full, and they came to their own land, for there was no longer fear of mingling with the rest of the nations. He neither ate bread nor drank water. 251. Rabbi Shimon sat, and Rabbi Elazar his son stood and interpreted the words of the secrets of the wisdom. His face was shining like the sun, and the words were spreading and flying in the firmament. They sat for 2 days. They neither ate nor drank, and they did not know if it was day or night. When they came out, they knew that 2 days had passed without them eating a thing. Rabbi Shimon called out about it, and he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He neither ate bread. And what if we, who were rewarded with adhesion with the Creator, were so for 1 hour, having been in the light of the Creator for 2 days, not knowing where we are? Moses, the text, testifies that he was there with the Creator 40 days. 252. When Rabbi Hia told the story to his father, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, he was bewildered and said, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is a lion, and Rabbi Elazar, his son, is a lion. And Rabbi Shimon is not like all other lions. It is written about him, when a lion roars, who will not fear? And if the worlds above shiver from him, we do even more. He is a man who never declared a fast for what he asked and prayed. Rather he decides and the Creator keeps. The Creator decides and he revokes. As it is written, ruler over men shall be the righteous, even he that rules in the fear of God. Meaning the Creator rules over man, and the righteous rules over the Creator. He sentences a decree, and the righteous revokes it. Section, against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. 317. What was the Egyptians' thought, and the thought of the minister appointed over them? Who put it in their hearts? To prevent Israel from multiplying. This is because, and he said unto his people, relates to their minister. And he told them. And they knew that a son was to come out of Israel, by whom their gods would be sentenced. 318. When Moses said, against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments, Domeh, the minister of Egypt, went 400 paces, because of the great fear. The Creator told him that a sentence has been given before me, and it cannot be undone. As it is written, the Lord will punish the host of the high heaven on high. At that time the authority had been taken away from him, and Domeh was appointed as the minister of hell, to sentence the evil souls there. 319. Upon their gods also the Lord executed judgments. But are there judgments upon a god of silver or gold, or of wood or of stone? Indeed, the ones of silver and gold melted by themselves, and the ones of wood rotted. 320. The god of Egypt was a lamb. The Creator commanded that judgments would be executed upon it, that it would be burned in fire, as it is written, the graven images of their gods shall you burn with fire, so their smell will spread. Moreover, its head is on its legs and on its intestines in a degrading manner. Moreover, its bones are thrown in the market, which was the hardest for the Egyptians. This is the meaning of the words judgments. 321. He executed judgments in their actual gods, and this is their minister to keep. The Lord will punish the host of the high heaven on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth, and the wise ones among them knew all that, all the more so their minister. This is why it is written, let us deal wisely. 3:22. Idol worship abounded in Egypt, and the Nile River was their god. Actually, he was their gods, and in all of them the Creator executed judgments. Their gods were struck first, and then the nation. And also the Nile was struck first, and the trees and the stones that they worshipped, as it is written, and the blood was through all the land of Egypt, in the trees and in the rocks that really were their gods. It is written about the host of the high heaven on high that the Nile was not above, but on the earth. For the most part, the waters of the Nile are similar to the river as it is above. Their minister is struck first, and then the rest of their gods. 3:23. The actual striking of the nation of Egypt was only at sea. As it is written, not even one of them remained, but before that judgments were executed on their gods. This is why it is written, "Come, let us deal wisely with them, or else they will multiply." And in the event of war, meaning that they were predicting the future as it happened to them. They also joined themselves unto our enemies, meaning that they were predicting the camps of high angels that will be in the midst of them. And fight against us means that they were predicting what is written, "The Lord will fight for you," and get them up out of the land, as he says, "And the children of Israel went out with a high hand." Before we go on and read in the next excerpt, let's watch another clip of Rav Laitman talking more about these concepts of the exodus from Egypt and what's going on here in Passover. So a few words from Kabbalist Dr. Michael Laitman.
First of all, we're coming out of Egypt. We're coming out of our ego, out of the rejection, separation between us. This is the meaning of Exodus, exiting Egypt. Then we cross a boundary between Egypt and the land of Israel. The land of Israel is called desire, Eretz, from the word Ratzon, desire. Israel, straight to the Creator. And between Egypt and the land of Israel, between these two desires, where Egypt is the egoistic desire, then the ego, the evil inclination, is ruling over us. And in order to pass to a desire that's entirely aimed at the Creator, we have to perform various corrections. It doesn't happen at once. This jump from a desire for itself, egoistic, to desire for the Creator. There has to be a departure. We have to leave through this boundary called the Red Sea, then receive the Torah, the upper light that will correct us gradually. And to spend 40 years in the Sinai desert, which is the time from the exodus from the ego, from Egypt, and all the way to the entrance to the desire to bestow, called the land of Israel. This is the desert, since there's nothing from which to derive pleasure, nothing to eat. It's very dangerous. You have to constantly move through it for 40 years. This means that we are going from Malchut to Bina. And all of it is by the reforming light called Torah. That's why at the beginning of the entrance to the desert, we have Mount Sinai, and then we're in a state called the Mountain of Hate, Sinai. And when we discover it, we acquire the upper light that begins to correct us, called Torah. And it's not happening all at once. Later, we come to such desires that are all in order to bestow, which means that after 40 years in the desert, we enter, in hate, we enter connection called the land of Israel. This is our work gradually. That's what we have to do. Now we enter a time period that's right before the exodus from Egypt, and we're learning about what we have to do in order to come out of it. That's it.
Okay, so we're going to continue now with Bo. Come unto Pharaoh, and pass over the lintel and the two mezuzahs, doorpost. 75. Providence is not seen above, except when an act of it is seen below. And before an act is done below, providence does not punish, except for a thought of idol worshipping, which is punished without an act. And once an act is done, the higher providence awakens. This is why everything depends on the act, for better or for worse. 76. All the streets of Egypt were filled with idols, and in each house were all sorts of sorcerers, who connect the lower crowns below with their charms, and evoke the spirit of impurity among them. 77. And you shall take a bundle of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin. The bundle of hyssop is to purify the spirit of impurity from among them, and to show the complete faith on their homes, in these three places, one from here and one from here, on the two mezuzahs, which imply the two lines right and left. And the one between them, on the lintel, implies the middle line. And this is why the Creator passed over the door and did not let the destroyer come into your homes to smite, since he sees the holy name written on the door, which is the three lines. 78. If they imply to the three lines, why was it done in blood? It is because the color of the three lines is white and red, and the inclusive is green. There were two bloods, one of Passover, and the other of the circumcision, when they circumcised themselves. The blood of circumcision is rachamim, mercy, even though it is red, and the Passover blood is judgment, hence colors are irrelevant here. 79. He says, it is not so. I learned that the Creator brought that blood back to Rachamim, as though it was the white among the colors. As it is written, when I passed by you and saw you wallowing in your blood, I said unto thee, in thy blood live. And although it was red, it was brought back to Rachamim. For it is written, in thy blood live. Hence it is not dependent upon colors. And this is why he wrote on the door on three sides, one here, and one in between them, implying the three lines. 80. Two bloods were seen, the Passover blood and the circumcision blood. Those correspond to two keters, sphirot, which were seen above at that time, which are the two lines Hesed and Gvura. They are opposite one keter included in the two hidden sides, in Rachamim and Din, judgment. This is so because the middle line itself, Tiferet, consists of two lines corresponding to the two bloods, the circumcision blood, the Rachamim in Tiferet, and the Passover blood, the Din in Tiferet. 81. There are several places where the Creator has pity over his children. A man made a house, and the Creator told him, write my name and put it on your doorstep, and you will sit within the house while I sit outside at your door and watch over you. But here in Passover he said, write the secret of my faith on the door, the three lines on the two mezuzahs and the lintel, and you will sit inside your home while I watch over you from the outside. As it is written, and none of you shall go out of the door of his house until the morning. It is also written, and when he sees the blood upon the lintel, and will not allow the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. Thus the Creator was watching them from the outside. 82. Such as the holy name Hey, they did at the time, meaning three lines, 2 on the mezuzahs and 1 on the lintel from above. This is similar to the shape of the hay, which is Malchut. Hence, as the holy name returned to being Din over the Egyptians at that time, the blood returned to being Din at that time, as it is written, and when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the 2 mezuzahs, they are all marked in red, implying Din, to show that although it is Rachamim for Israel, it was Din, once again, to avenge the Egyptians. Okay, everyone, that's all we have time for today. Once again, it's been great being with you all in this Zohar reading for world peace. Also, hello to Cape Town, Marina, Nancy, JG Aker, To Be Conscious, Siberia today, Carl, Lawrence, Luke England, King Waymaker, and Eric, who have joined on YouTube since we last chatted everyone out. And also on Facebook. Please make sure you leave a like on the video, and together with all your great comments and chats. And it's been great once again connecting with you all. And today, well, actually, even though we're out of time, I'll leave you with around a 4 or 5 minute clip with Kabbalist Dr. Michael Laitman, once again going through this whole process of the spiritual meaning of the Exodus from Egypt, states that we're talking about now during this Passover period, and states that we can literally feel within ourselves in the inner processes we're undergoing in our spiritual work at any point within the year, which aren't really connected to any specific calendar dates. So let's see about that, and we'll exit with this, and we look forward to once again being with you again when we meet. See you later.
The Exodus from Egypt according to the wisdom of Kabbalah. As Abraham said, how could it be that an ordinary person living in this world, in Babylon, where everything's mixed and confused, where people are traveling, enjoying themselves, everything you have in this world, how can such a person want to rise from this sheer corporeal life? He feels good, he feels convenient, he has bread and games. So the Creator says, of course they can't rise from such a state, but I'm preparing something for them so that they will want to rise from the boundaries of this world. In this world, I'm preparing such things for them that they'll want to run away, that they'll feel how bad and evil this world really is. And not that it's just bad, but that they're going into crisis after crisis, and that they're suffering, and their children are suffering. And they see the entire perspective of their future, that things aren't going to be better, but that they're going to get worse and worse. And then they start saying that the one to blame for this entire process is their ego, their nature, their evil inclination. And as a result of wanting to get rid of it, they'll turn to me. They'll have no one else to turn to. They'll discover that they can't change anything by their own forces, up to the point where they will feel that they're completely incapable of remaining in this world. Not that they're asking me to make things good for them, to take away the blows and that they'll stay here. No, but they will have to understand that all of their blows are coming from me, from the upper force, and that the upper force wants for them to want to change the method of their existence from in order to receive to in order to bestow, from separation to connection, from hate to love. And they'll have to learn how to make all of these changes, not to really make them themselves, but to learn that it is all happening inside this state that I'm preparing for them, that all in all is called the Egyptian exile. And after they acknowledge this, then the recognition of the evil of their situation and the bit of recognition of good that I will show them from ahead, the gap between the two will be so great that they will cry out from the bottom of their heart, all of them, in order to get this new quality, this new nature. And then I'll really make this change in them, that instead of the will to receive, they will start moving toward the will to bestow. I can't do it before that, because they have to acknowledge that their situation is bad and evil, so that they'll want to escape from this entire prison that they feel inside their ego. And then I'll bring them out of Egypt. But first of all, they have to feel that they're in exile from the force of love and bestowal. This is actually what the Creator explained to Abraham, but only to Abraham. And the others gradually have to come to that. They have to attain it to the measure to which they integrate with the quality of Abraham. Therefore, Abraham is called the father of the nation, Av Ha'am in Hebrew, also meaning the head of the nation, the head of those that are drawn straight to the Creator, that are all called Israel, meaning those that are aimed straight at the Creator, and Abraham is their head.